It's tornado season, so we're going to be covering tornadoes of terror, remembering the Tri-State Tornado and the Waco Tornado. So today, we're going to remember two of the most devastating tornadoes in American history. The Tri-State Tornado, which is officially a 100-year anniversary this week, and the Waco Tornado were two F4, F5 tornadoes that left a trail of destruction and loss of life in their wake. These tornadoes occurred over 50 years ago and 100 years ago, but their impact still resonates with us today.
There were no home movie cameras in 1925. We can only imagine what the Tri-State Tornado looked like, but we know it was terrifying, and we know it did not look like a tornado. It was a mile wide, wrapped in dust and debris. It killed nearly 700 people in 3 states. It began north-northwest of Ellington, Missouri at about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Its forward speed an average of 62 miles per hour. 11 people were killed before it crossed the Mississippi River into Illinois. In southern Illinois, 613 died.
On March 18, 1925, a massive F5 tornado tore through parts of Missouri, Illinois, and Indiana, killing 695 people and injuring over 2,000. The Tri-State Tornado was the deadliest tornado in American history, and it remains one of the most destructive natural disasters to ever hit the United States. Just off this Tri-County storm that developed, it spun off many tornadoes, and if you know, with these storms, they can spin off tornadoes. I'm going to go through a list of the tornadoes that it spun off and where they hit and what size they were. It spun an F2 starting in Deering, Kansas. It wrecked a pair of barns and a filling station. It was an F2 in Warren Jackson Townships, Missouri. There was a F5 that spun off of the storm west-northwest of Ellington, Missouri, and Murfreesboro, Illinois, to Oatsville, Indiana. Just in that, the spin-off from this storm, there were 588 fatalities in Illinois and 95 in Indiana. It spun an F4 in Mockport, Indiana, to south of Louisville, Kentucky, caused 4 deaths along that track, and it impacted 27 farmsteads. It spun an F2 in Littleville, Alabama, and only causing 1 death, destroying a store, a filling station, and a pair of homes. 12 people were injured. It spun an F4 in Butte Lodge, Tennessee, to Westmoreland, Tennessee, to Beaumont, Kentucky, causing 41 deaths. It spun an F3 in eastern Louisville to Pee Wee Valley, causing 3 deaths, destroying brick homes and barns and structures. It spun an F3 in western Marion County to Lexington, Kentucky, causing 2 deaths. It spun an F3 west of College Grove, Tennessee, to Kirkland, Tennessee, causing 1 death. 30 barns. This is all a continuation of the same storm, guys. F3 Unionville to northeast of Fosterville, Tennessee, 4 deaths, 10 homes destroyed. And the last one that it spun off of that storm was south of Petersburg, Indiana, and it was part of that Tri-State Tornado family. That's what they call that, and that's what you're seeing right there. You've seen the damages and the flyovers from that. The tornado was estimated to be over a mile wide at its peak, and it traveled a total of 219 miles over the course of 3.5 hours. The tornado's path of destruction was widespread, with entire neighborhoods and towns being reduced to rubble. The Waco Tornado of 1953.
How much is that dog in the window?
The weather in Waco, partly cloudy today and Tuesday. A few thunderstorms along the Gulf Coast. The day after Mother's Day was an ordinary workday in downtown Waco. Wayne Farmer Jr. went to work at Paget's. Up and down the main drag, Austin Avenue, People went to their jobs ready for the week's challenges. It was just an ordinary Monday in Middle America. Farmers repeated their daily prayer for rain. It was calm, very calm. The calm before the storm. During Monday afternoon, newspaper reporter John Edward Weems and his dad watched clouds begin to build up over Waco from their vantage point at a ranch near Temple, south of Waco. There was a disturbance in the air above central Texas, caused when warm air coming from the Gulf of Mexico to the south mixed with colder air from the north. It was the type of atmospheric collision that could produce thunderstorms and rain. These weather conditions were not unusual and not scary at all.
I always heard two things about Waco. One was that a tornado would never strike there because the Indians had built their camp right there on the river. The other was that if you ever drink Brazos water, you will always come back.
Indian legend was strong and believable in this central Texas community. The city owed its existence to the Waco tribe of Indians, who made a settlement here on the banks of the Brazos. And drinking the water may have been one of the reasons the Indians built that camp. The land along the river had abundant natural hot springs, delivering warm, healthful water. Now, though, the no-tornado Native American legend was about to bite the dust, literally. As John Edward Weems later reported in his book, The Tornado, around 4:30 p.m., a weather radar scope image at Texas A&M University to the south showed an appendage hanging from the bottom of the growing cloud formation. Trained weathermen know this appendage as a hook. The hook is characteristic of tornadoes seen on radar. Today, any appearance of a hook generates widespread radio and television bulletins warning of severe weather. But in May of 1953, Waco had only 2 radio stations, so there was no warning.
On May 11, 1953, a devastating F5 tornado struck Waco, Texas, killing 114 people and injuring over 500. The Waco tornado was one of the first tornadoes to be extensively documented by photographers and journalists, and its impact was felt across the nation. Following the Waco tornado, attempts to organize disaster relief were stymied by poor organization. The Waco tornado proved to be a devastating event. And according to the old legends, with the Native American tribes, tornadoes, or at least severe ones, would not touch down in Waco because of the bluffs around the Brazos River. Tornadoes and other severe weather were rare and mild around that city. However, in 1953, that tornado disproved the myth. The first tornado formed around 410, about 3 miles northwest of the Lorena community. It quickly began damaging structures, destroying a home near Lorena as it tracked northeast. The tornado produced F5 damage outside of the city of Waco. As it neared Waco, operators of the weather radar at Texas A&M detected a hook echo in association with the part supercell. This was the first time that radar linked tornadogenesis with the hook echo signatures. But the heavy rain was obscuring the tornado and its path was hard to see. The heightened precipitation nature of the parent storm may have heightened the death toll in Waco by delaying appropriate action. The storm also generated baseball-sized hail in its path. The tornado passed close to Hewitt before entering downtown Waco. As the thunderstorm began pounding the city with rain, many people on the streets crowded into local buildings for shelter, yet few of the buildings in downtown Waco were constructed sturdy enough to withstand the winds, so they collapsed almost immediately. 30 people died in the RT Dennis building alone. Newer buildings with steel reinforcement, including the 22-story Amical office building, now called the Alico building, weathered the storm. The Dr. Pepper bottling plant, today the Dr. Pepper Museum, also remained standing but sustained damage. Bricks from the collapsed structures piled up on the street to a depth of 5 feet. Some survivors were trapped under rubble for 14 or more hours. Numerous bodies remained buried beneath piles of rubble, and for many days were unaccounted for. After devastating downtown Waco, the tornado continued to the north-northeast and dissipated about 5 miles west of Axtell. While the tornado destroyed homes outside the city, media largely focused on destruction in downtown Waco. In all, 114 deaths occurred in the Waco area, with 597 injuries and over $41 million in property damage. The tornado destroyed 196 businesses and factories, 150 homes were wrecked, and over 2,000 cars sustained at least some damage. The tornado in Waco was estimated to be over 800 feet wide at its peak, and it traveled a total of 33 miles over the course of 1 hour. The tornado's path of destruction was concentrated in the downtown area of Waco, with entire city blocks being reduced to rubble. While both the Tri-State Tornado and the Waco Tornado were devastating and natural disasters, there are some key differences between the two events. The Tri-State Tornado was a much larger and more destructive event with a wider path of destruction and a higher death toll. However, the Waco Tornado was a more intense event with winds estimated to be over 300 miles per hour. The Waco Tornado also had a more significant impact on the nation, as it was one of the first tornadoes to be extensively documented by the media. The Tri-State Tornado and the Waco Tornado were two of the most devastating tornadoes in American history. These events remind us of the power and fury of nature and the importance of being prepared for natural disasters. As we remember these events 100 years this month, we also honor the memories of those who lost their lives, and we pay tribute to the resilience and determination of those who survived. Thank you for listening, guys, and I hope you enjoyed this little short tour back into history to look at these two tornadoes. Have a good one.